Hey everyone, Token Dave over here, dirty token black guy who's just trying to get by. And welcome to another edition of Helltober, my celebration of horror and Halloween for the month of October. To paraphrase Randy Meeks, let's observe some of the rules in order to create a successful slasher sequel. Rule number one, body count is always bigger. Rule number two, death scenes are more elaborate. More blood, more gore. We definitely get that in the second installment of the Fear Street Trilogy, 1978. The nightmare isn't over for the survivors of the first installment, as they are still being targeted by the latest shady side killer. Desperate for guidance and answers, the teens meet a woman named C. Berman who recounts her experiences on July 19th, 1978, and confirms that the curse of Sarah Fear is real. So, the first movie in 1984 of the Fear Street Trilogy really took a lot of inspiration from slashers of the 90s, which actually breathed life back into the franchise by adding additional substance and nuances at that time period. This one is taking us back to the late 70s, where the slasher genre was still in its experimental stage. But the thing is, though, it's the late 70s, and people forget that the slasher genre took over the horror movies pretty much between 1978 and 1983, thanks to the John Carpenter's Halloween in 1978. So we got all the tropes that the 90s slashers made fun of in the late 70s and early 80s. You know, teens having sex, consuming alcohol, smoking weed, I'll be right back, and the virgin being a survivor. So since we've been there, done that, and it was actually parodied in the 90s and, pretty much run of the mill now, it is very difficult to make a movie like this entertaining and enjoyable for a modern audience. And this movie actually pulled it off, primarily because I believe the director, Lee Janik, she actually knows the history of slasher movies and knows the time period fairly well as the genre fairly well too, which is one of the reasons why I think this actually works a lot better than the previous installment. Another thing that's a little bit better than the previous installment are the actors. Now, I mean no disrespect to the first cast, because they did an incredible job and in reflecting how things were in the 90s with their attitudes. But one thing that was missing in that one, the chemistry was there, but it didn't feel as tight. Here, the chemistry is on point with the characters, especially with the leads, Sadie Sack, who is from Stranger Things, and Emily Rudd, who play the sisters Ziggy and Sydney. We have a couple of other characters that we actually get closer to, but the breakout is Ryan Simplix, who plays Alice, the rocker girl who basically has a bit of an attitude and antagonism towards one of the Berman sisters, which is on full display, but we get more development with her and Sydney, which is actually very effective. One thing the previous movie did that gets reflected in this movie as well is basically the theme of the preps versus the rockers. I didn't get to touch upon that because I had to set up a lot of things for the trilogy and the story, but that theme was present in that movie as well as in this one. But this one's a little different because it's not just rockers per se, more of preps versus the counterculture, because this is the late 70s and most of them are in their late teens, so a lot of them still are predominantly probably baby boomers at that time, and the counterculture phase was big with the baby boomers. Wow, but the big thing, the selling point, the kills. Oh my god, these kills are brutal. And not only are they brutal, but we get blood and guts and everything, But it's done in a way where it's, like I said, more elaborate, but still not oozing your face so much that it's like turns you off. It's there. It's brutal, but it's not like, ooh, you can still sit there and watch it, which is another thing that makes this movie so effective. This trilogy is a lot smarter than it's given credit for because the director definitely knows the genre very well as giving us things that are very cliched but still enjoyable. So we have better characters, better actors, we're definitely following the formula, but is not insulting and has a lot of subtle substance, that could be related from the 70s and today. This movie is slamming. I mean, no, not slamming. Fear Street 1978 is amazeballs. And just to be honest with you, this is my favorite entry in the trilogy. Agree? Disagree? Please drop me a comment below, give me a like, follow me on Facebook at Token Dave, or on Twitter and Instagram at Token Dave 80. Subscribe and ring that bell so you know when a new video loads. But until then, this has been Token Dave, Dorky Token Black Guy who's just trying to get by. Catch all of y'all later.